Okay, now comes the interesting part. Need to undo the wiring harness because the plug-ins that were down here with the throttle body need to get moved down here, and basically plug-ins that were for the intake manifold, all those things need to get rearranged. And there's a lot of wires on here for like automatic transmission, stuff like that I won't be needing. And so I've looked at some YouTube videos, and we'll see how far I can go to remove all the wires I don't need, and kind of go from there. Okay, I think I pretty much got my wiring sorted out. Now the next step is to go through and try and put all this spaghetti mess into either some wire ties or some bundling to make it a little cleaner. Okay, working on the wiring harness. Managed to take all of the shielding off everything. There's actually two schools of thought on how they do this. One is you plug everything in where it needs to be, and then anything that's not plugged in you remove up here from the ECU plugs. Now, being old and bad eyesight, I have a magnifying glass which will help me. Here are all the pinouts for the blue connector and the red connector for a LS1 Corvette. So now I'm going to actually start. I know I don't need the automatic transmission, which basically is all these connectors. So I'll trace those back and unpin them, and then that'll be a good start. Okay, more about wiring. Now, there's all kinds of YouTube videos on how to modify an LS1 PCM harness, and I'll put some links to those in the description. Essentially what I've done is, this is the complete wiring diagram for a 2001 Corvette LS1. These are the ECM plugs, the red and the blue, which I've taken apart. And the reason I've done that is there's going to be a lot of things like an automatic transmission controls that I don't need. So essentially you go through and you unpin those wires that you don't need from the back of the ECM. So this has all the numbers on the back, and you can see what they are. And then part of the information I've gotten are these charts that says for the blue connector, here are what you need and what you don't need. So you can kind of go through that and use that also as a guide for unpinning. And then it tells you which ones you need to keep. So those, there's actually a fuse block. Let me get the fuse block. This is the back of the fuse block that comes with the Corvette. Now these are all the pinouts for what those mean, and there's some of them. The pink ones you can see is the ones I've highlighted. Those are going to be put into a separate fuse block. So all of these I've gone through and labeled what they were, and then you can go through and see what they are. That results in this series of pink wires, which ultimately will go into the fuse block, because all this can actually be put into basically 4 fuses. So I'm working my way towards that. Now I'll get this stuff out of the way, and then this is the controls for the drive-by-wire. Now this connection actually goes onto the gas pedal in the cabin, and then that gets connected down here, but this didn't come with my wiring harness. So I got the appropriate plug-in for that, and I'll have to wire that up, connecting these two. Again, the length of the wire will be from the gas pedal back to this. And then this is the other part that gets plugged in here, and those take the signals from the PCM. Now, on the engine itself, there's quite a spaghetti mess down here, but I figured out everything that I needed plugged in. Some of the wires here, because I reversed the intake manifold, I've had to extend some of these wires to get up there. So next thing is to go ahead and start bundling these all up. I'm also going to have to extend these wires here because I moved the alternator down, which shortened the wires to get to the starter. So that'll be my next task. Like I said, it's quite a project, but it is doable. Just patience and lots of information. Okay, need to replace the throttle pedal on here, which was a cable-driven one, with the drive-by-wire. So we've got to remove that one, cut along there and out there, and see how that fits. Okay, got the throttle pedal relocated. And because this is drive-by-wire, I'll need to make connections from there back to the controls in the engine compartment. Okay, just about ready to start bundling this up. I think I've got all the wires unpinned that I need to. Had to put a couple back that I had taken out by mistake. So should be getting my fuse block and my OBD2 connector and things like that. So I'll start working on getting those connected. But the rest of it's looking decent. So hopefully we'll get her all put together here pretty soon. Did send off my ECU to Brendan at lt1.com to reprogram it to get rid of the security so that, you know, it won't run in limp mode. I can't express enough that this lt1swap.com has so much information out there on wiring and configurations and stuff like that. I'll put a link to them in the description below, but great site. So let me start bundling wires. Okay, I've reassembled the red and blue connectors, got those tied up. Now the next thing is to go ahead and connect all the pink wires basically to this fuse block. So this is basically just a Dorman fuse block. So I'll go through now and get these sorted out, and then we'll get this thing assembled. Bundle these all wires as to which goes to what fuse. I need to cut them all off the same length. Got the fuse block wired up. I still need to hook up the relays. It's ground wire, and then this is the fuel pump trigger. So I'm not sure on the fuse sizes, but I'm asking some questions on some of the people that provided the information. Next is going to do this here. Now I just bought basically an 8-pin connector, and then I'll start connecting these. And this is a nice waterproof connector, so just need to get that wired up. Okay, have the bulk of the wiring harness done. I have my red and yellow connectors tied into the harness now. Wired up my fuse block. Still have some relays to put on here yet, but that'll come later. These are what will get extended on, go into some of my instrument panels, and then have an ODB II connector that will get connected to some of these wires. but until I figure out where the engine's going to sit, I'm not going to use those. So I have a couple wires here. I'm not sure what to do, but they're labeled and I may need them down the road. So this has been educational, I guess. There's a lot of stuff that's been, a lot of research I've been using that's been really helpful. Again, I'll put the links in the description below and go through some of the things that I managed to get all this done with. So, hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't subscribed, I appreciate it if you would. And we'll see what's the next step. Well, I've been working on the wiring and having the chassis up in the air. I was looking at these supports here that are holding up the back of the body. And while they're very strong, I feel like I need to actually have something that will connect from there up to there to give it a little bit more support. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that. Okay, got the additional supports welded in. That should strengthen the back considerably. Feel much better about that. And as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch this episode. If you haven't subscribed, I would appreciate it if you did. And be sure and turn on your post notifications. Again, thanks for watching.